It is Good Morning Uganda. My name is Olive Monica Najoma. Thank you for being a part of this program. Now we delve into our agenda segment where we speak to opinion leaders and policy makers regarding different issues. Every Wednesday here on Good Morning Uganda, we do engage the cooperatives or those that are in the cooperative sector and to see how the sector is doing, but also the different aspects as as that is concerned. Now, today we will be delving into a conversation regarding fostering sustainable development through cooperative unions. And I will be speaking to CPA Ivan Asimwe, who is the General Secretary, Uganda Cooperative Alliance. Now, cooperative unions have played a pivotal role in Uganda's socio-economic development over a century. Uganda's cooperative movement dates back to the 1910s and was formalized with passing of the Cooperative Societies Ordinance in 1946. By the 1960s, cooperatives had become critical drivers in cotton, coffee, and dairy sectors. Still, the liberalization of policies of the 1990s disrupted this growth. But we have seen a lot of regrowth in the sector, and Ivan is always excitedly sharing with us what has been happening over the years, especially now in the 2000s, 2010s, and now in the 2020s. So in recent years, there has been a renewed push to revitalize the cooperative sector, and according to the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, Uganda currently has over 20,000 registered cooperative cooperative societies serving more than 10 million members. Now, the Uganda Cooperative Alliance plays a central role in policy advocacy, training, and also coordination, which brings us to our conversation today, fostering sustainable development through cooperative unions. Good morning, Mr. Asimwe.
Good morning, good morning. How are you? And good morning, all our viewers outside there. I'm really happy to be here.
Okay. Now, looking at the numbers, Mr. Asimwe, we have over 20,000 active cooperative organizations in the country, and 40% of these are said to be SACCOs, which are savings and credit cooperative organizations. Now, jumping into some of the key issues that many Ugandans would be interested in. First of all, let's set the stage. Let's try to understand today's topic, fostering sustainable development through cooperative unions. What does this exactly mean?
Oh, very good. In fact, you have already summarized my presentation. Thank you so much. And as usual, I want to begin by appreciating UBC, the board and management, for always giving us this opportunity as cooperators. Yeah, because previously we didn't have this opportunity, but we get this opportunity to learn, understand, get information, because it is a principle of cooperatives, which is about education, training, and information. So you are really helping us to actualize this principle.
Yes.
So we are so grateful. Like you have made my presentation very clear, there was such a time when the cooperatives were very strong in this country. And we are talking about the cooperative unions. And we started by looking at the Cooperative Ordinance of 1946. Because in this country, cooperatives began way back in 1913. When, because of too much exploitation of our farmers, especially, for farmers led the revolution and said enough is enough. We cannot continue like this. I can't grow my coffee and I become a slave. The other produce, you're a slave. You take your produce to the market, you meet a buyer there who is a middleman, the man cheats you openly. So because of that, they said, no, enough is enough. We must liberate ourselves through cooperatives. And they formed the first cooperative society. 1946, the ordinance comes into play. Then but still that ordinance was unfavorable. It was a bad law, because it had been made by the colonials and they didn't want Africans to cooperate, because they knew once you cooperate, then exploitation will stop. So, but these guys kept on pushing, and these are people the viewers, I want you to listen to this. These are not graduates. They don't have diplomas, no degrees, no masters, no PhDs.
These are peasants.
These are peasants. But they saw light earlier in 1913, and they said no. So 1946, the ordinance is made, but this is a bad law. So the cooperators kept on pushing until 1952, when Andrew Cohen came here as a governor. They petitioned the government and said, enough is enough. We want to cooperate, but the law of 1946 is a bad one. So Andrew Cohen sets up a committee of inquiry that released the report on the 11th of June 1952, and that one is the one that liberated the cooperative movement. And then that's where we see the cooperative union is coming up and registering. Because for the case of viewers, when we talk of a cooperative union, this is where primary societies come together and form another level or another layer of secondary nature. Like for example, we the farmers in a certain area, when we come together, what we form is a primary cooperative society. For example, we are cattle keepers. In one area we form and like that. So when now you bring these primary societies together, they form a union of secondary nature. Then again, when the unions, those secondary unions, even mix with the primary societies coming together, they form a union of tertiary nature. Take an example. When circles come together, they form a union called UKUSCO, Uganda Cooperative Savings and Credit Union. That's a union. They even form other unions. Kigezi Circles Union, it is there. Ntungamo Circles Union. Shema, like that. Bunyoro Toro, those are unions. So when all these unions come together, they now form an apex body, which is Uganda Cooperative Alliance. So that is the structure. So when we are talking about unions, we are not talking about these small structures. We are talking about huge structures. Talk about Banyankole Kweterana. That is a union in Western Uganda, in Ankole region. Kigezi Growers Cooperative Union, Bugis Cooperative Union, Sebei Eregon Cooperative Union, Wamara Growers, East Acholi, West Acholi, West Nile, Nyakatonzi. These are bigger unions we are talking about. UKUSCO, Uganda Cooperative Transport Union. These are huge unions that we are talking about. So I'm very happy today that we are discussing a very pertinent topic. Because, moderator, as a country we have just launched NDP4. And NDP4, if you are to critically understand the goal, we are looking at higher household incomes, we are looking at employment, and then we are looking at full monetization of the economy. So in this context, therefore, where do we put the local content, the Ugandans? So where do you put them? Because you are talking about full monetization, you are talking about higher incomes and then employment. And the unions do all this together. Then again, you go down to the theme where you're emphasizing industrialization. I'll give you an example. Last week I was in northern Uganda, in Acholi sub-region. I want to tell you, unions are giants. I wish the government could really refocus on the cooperative unions in this country. We went to one union, for example, West Acholi Cooperative Union. It has got over 7,000 acres of land in New York. They have a cotton ginnery where the forefathers bought that ginnery in 1960s. 1960s. I don't know which language they were using. I don't know how they were negotiating, importing that ginnery. I don't know. So, but these people had the capacity to buy such a bigger ginnery, cotton ginnery. They have a maize mill. They have a rice mill. They have structures. My God. So when you are talking about investors, this one should be priority number one. You go to Middle North, which covers the entire Acholi sub-region. This is a giant with a lot of land. You go to East Acholi, they also have a ginnery, a very big ginnery of cotton. Then you go to Nyakatonzi in Kasese. They also have a ginnery. Very big one, modern. Now, if you are talking about industrialization, and how do you bring Ugandans, especially the smallholder farmers, already the structures are there, the facilities are there. I don't know why Ugandans, we cannot wake up. We should wake up and take advantage of what we have. But you imagine you find someone evaluating themselves based on how many investors they have gotten from outside of the country. Why would you leave Uganda to go and look for investors outside the country when you have investors here? So it's a matter of consolidating our wealth, looking at what we have, take advantage of it, and move the country forward, because we have everything. I think God was fair enough. God gave this country what it takes. Because you have mentioned it rightly, in 1960s, unions were very strong. I tell you, moderator,
and I would like
very strong.
Yes, Mr. Simwe. And when you mentioned that, I would like for you to actually walk us back a bit to the 1990s. What were some of the challenges that arose during the 1990s liberalization era, and how did they affect cooperatives in the country?
Okay, like I've mentioned, immediately when the committee of inquiry gave a report to Andrew Cohen and the government, immediately they had to revise the law of 1946. And then we have the 1952 Cooperative Societies Act. The other one was an ordinance. Now it becomes an act. Then we see cooperatives grow very fast, tremendously.
Thriving, yes.
And we have these unions register. The Banyankole, the Bugisu, name them, all of them. Now, by 1960s, I want to tell you, 1963, government realizes that there was need for cooperative education and established a cooperative college at Bukarasa, which later went to Chigumba in 1974. Cooperatives were very strong, and they started the cooperative bank in 1964, using their own money. I want you to look at how big it was. Then they owned, by before independence, cooperatives are controlling coffee. They had 1% monopoly to Gini Cotton. They were controlling coffee, 90% and 60% Robusta and Arabic. Cooperative, their net worth, just in crop alone, it was 321,311,500 Uganda shillings. This was a lot of money as a country. So these are giants. So eventually, around in fact in 1970, government comes up with a new law, the Cooperative Societies Act, because from 52 there was another one of 1963, because the laws have been revised over time. Some of them are repealed, others are amended. So 1963, after 52, then from 63 we have the one of 1970. 1970 law brings problems. How? Cooperatives are based on 7 international cooperative principles, and among them is autonomy and independence. So the moment you make a law that affects the autonomy and independence of cooperatives, automatically you have killed them. So that law killed that principle of autonomy, to the extent that even a minister had the powers to appoint the boards and secretary managers, which is against the second principle of cooperatives, democratic member control. So automatically it affected them. Now, as we move along, 1979 we have a war. Most of the cooperative unions, because they were very strong, they were giants. They had the machinery, they had the land, they had the stock. Some of it was intercepted along the way, cotton and coffee, and they lost a lot of wealth. So, as they are now coming up with the coming of NRA in 1986, 1990s economic liberalization, they now open up the market. You can imagine you have been having a patient in ICU. As the patient is recovering, you now say, stand up and run. The patient can't run. Needs time to settle. So Before these unions are stabilized, liberalization, they are now exposed to competition.
Free market
Remember
economy.
before, they were using the warehousing receipt system, whereby if you're a coffee farmer, you'd bring your coffee, and then they would weigh, and they give you a receipt, and the receipt was a cash equivalent. So now when they open up to competition, the multinationals come in. They have cash. You get me? Now, as they are still struggling, even their bank is closed. 1999, 19th of May. You see now a double tragedy.
Yes.
The bank is done. You don't have a bank. You went through war. You lost your vehicles.
And
you
now
lost
you
your
have
machinery,
stiff competition.
You lost your coffee. You lost your cotton in transit. Now, as you are trying to recover, liberalization. Multinationals come in, take over the business.
Stiff competition.
So, your hands are tied. But we are appreciative of the government.
Okay.
Since then, the government has come up with a revival strategy. And that's why we are here talking. And when you go back to these unions, most of them have recovered. Because government compensated some of these unions, and they are still compensating them. We have emphasized capacity building, which we are doing today. You see, we have come up with new, because previously we are looking at these cooperatives in coffee, cotton, but now we have gone beyond cotton and coffee, and we have cooperatives in transport, we have circles, we have energy, we have, name them,
services.
So we have diversified in general. Previously, cooperatives were seen to be institutions for the poor and the illiterate.
Yes.
But now even professionals, they have cooperatives.
That's right.
You go to accountants, you go to lawyers, the army, the police, the prisoners, they are now there. So this is where we are.
Okay. Well, if you're just joining the conversation, today we are speaking matters cooperatives, and the topic of discussion is fostering sustainable development through cooperative unions. And I am speaking to CPA Ivan Asimwe, who is the General Secretary of the Uganda Cooperative Alliance. Now, if you have any questions for Mr. Asimwe here, please reach us on WhatsApp number 0709 602 592. You can weigh in, you can share some of your views, and also probably what you have gathered over the years regarding cooperatives, and maybe what should be done to make them even better. Now, Mr. Simwe, let's come back to the present, and here I would like for us to look at sustainability and resilience. What role do cooperative unions play in promoting sustainable development, especially in rural areas?
Now, like I mentioned, you just go to one of the unions. I will just take you to Ankole Coffee, Producers Cooperative Union. This is a union for the coffee farmers. Me and you coffee farmers, number one, we get extension services from the union through our primary societies. Now, number two, we have the capacity to aggregate our coffee. Because the biggest challenge we have in this country are the middlemen. You can imagine someone buys your coffee. I don't know, do you grow coffee?
Personally?
Maybe around here in the studio.
No, so personally I don't,
so
but
you
my
don't
family.
Know what we are going to say.
No, my family does.
And I'm always lamenting.
Okay.
Can you imagine? Why should I grow my coffee in Rukunjiri and I'm paid 10,000 shillings
per kilo
as a farmer per kilo? My coffee goes to Europe.
Yes.
Europeans process it into Nescafe. It comes back to a supermarket,
and you're buying,
and the kilogram is around 200,000.
That's true.
So who is making money?
Of course, the person that
so
is selling the end product.
Why did I go to school, primary, secondary, HSC, university, masters? Why ACCA? And I am still exploited as if I didn't go to school. We should be asking ourselves these questions. We the educated people. Why did we go to school?
So the questions now are there, and I like that you're asking the questions.
Yes.
But now how are you, for instance, as UCA, promoting sustainable development to that farmer you said, who is growing their coffee but are earning 10,000 shillings per kilogram?
So that is why we are here talking about the cooperative model. Because like I've mentioned, it is the cooperative model that is going to help this, my mother, your father, like that. Down there in the rural areas, they will be able to increase their production and productivity. This one is an objective in NDP4.
Okay.
Increasing production, productivity, aggregation, value addition and marketing, which again is the first pillar in PDM. So it means there is a connection between PDM and the National Development Plan. And for that matter, even as UCA, that's what we are promoting. How? Support these farmers through cooperatives for them to be able to produce together, aggregate together, add value, and then export. Now, instead of exporting as Ivan Asimi exporting raw coffee, we now have the capacity to process our coffee so that we get money here. The money remains in the economy. Do you know that in Europe, people are making a lot of money in the coffee, yet they don't grow coffee?
That's right.
Yes. You go to Germany. The other day I was listening to the president when he mentioned that Germany makes more money in coffee than Africa combined.
And yet
they don't grow coffee.
And yet Ethiopia is the biggest exporter in Africa.
Yes.
Uganda coming second.
Yes.
So where is our money? Who has our money?
Now, as educated people, you educated and educated.
Yes.
The viewers are educated. They are seeing us. Have we ever sat as Ugandans ask ourselves such a question?
So
why
what
do you
is...
go to school? You don't go to school to speak English.
And that
you
begs
go to
for...
school to get the knowledge and skills so that you are able to make money and come out of the poverty cycle.
All right.
Yes.
Now that begs for the next question, Mr. Simwe. What is hindering us from value addition to the products that we make, that we grow here? Because these are the raw materials. We grow coffee, we grow vanilla, we grow cotton, and many others. But we are selling the raw materials, and like you rightly put it, when we sell, we don't get as much money as the person who is selling the end product. So let's talk about value addition.
Very good.
How are cooperatives helping the farmers in terms of value addition?
Now, before I even go to that, the question is, why are we not doing it?
Why?
Number one, we are not organized.
Okay.
We are not organized. And that is why the middlemen take advantage. But previously, like I've mentioned, cooperative unions were controlling Arabic and Robusta coffee to the extent of 90% and 60%. They had 1% monopoly to gin cotton. So had we moved at that pace, now would be beyond ginning. Would be now making cloth, the real cloth out of cotton. Do you know that we grow cotton here?
Yes, we do. For a long time, we had two cash crops. We had coffee and cotton.
If we are to make a study in this country,
yeah,
how many people put on cotton cloth? And yet we grow cotton.
Are the clothes even made
here? I
see
my friend from Kasese. He's not putting on cotton. And yet they grow cotton. So we grow cotton for others, then we put on mivumba from Owino. Are you seeing the confusion?
Which brings us back to value addition.
Yes.
If we are growing cotton, why aren't we adding value to the cash crops?
Like I've mentioned,
we are not organized.
When you go to West Acholi Cooperative Union, they have a general which is there.
Is it working?
It is not working. Why? Because cooperative unions need strengthening. Because they went through a lot of struggling. Now where they are, they have their machines. Here is NDP4, which is emphasizing industrialization.
Mr. Simwe,
so support the farmers, support the cooperatives, unions, to be able to add value. Support the farmers. They produce together. They aggregate together. They have already structures. These unions have stores. So they are able to aggregate together, they add value. Instead of exporting raw cotton, you now move to the next level. Beyond the ginning, they start the weaving, and finally we have cross here, so that we export a finished product and make money. But now when you go outside, you have heard some people who are here praising themselves. We have gotten investors. Why would you go to look for investors when the investors are here?
Mr. Simwe, yes, cooperatives went through a trying period in the 90s because of the economic liberalization. It's been 40 years of this government. 40 years of peace, 40 years of growth in different sectors. Why is it that we are still talking about cooperatives being disorganized? Okay, maybe farmers or people from different sectors being disorganized. And why are we still talking about issues like we need them to be supported more? Are you saying that in the last 40 years, there hasn't been substantial support for people like farmers to organize themselves and add value to the products that they grow, to the crops that they grow?
Thank you so much. You know, I began by appreciating government. Government has done its part. They have really supported. Even when you go to PDM, they are supporting the PDM circles. And the first pillar for PDM is production, productivity, value addition, aggregation, and marketing. But a lot needs to be done. I'm not saying they have not done. No, they have done something. But a lot needs to be done.
Okay.
What should be done? Number one, government needs to invest a lot in education, training, and information. Moderator, people don't have information. That's why we are so grateful with UBC that we have this opportunity to sensitize people down there. Some people are not even up to date. They are not even aware that they are cooperative unions that have such facilities. And especially the educated, these capitalists. For them, they believe in multinationals. They think cooperatives can't work, but they are there and they can work. That is number one. Invest a lot in training, information, and education. Number two, ensure that there is a good law for cooperatives. Yes, we have the Cooperative Societies Act, CAP 107, but with gaps. Even in these circles, I think last time I was here and we discussed about the legal lacuna on circles, currently what is affecting circles. For the interest of viewers, in 2003, Bank of Uganda came up with a law. They amended the MDI Act to allow supervision of bigger circles whose threshold is 500 million share capital and 1.5 billion voluntary savings. All of them are supposed to be regulated by the central bank. Then also in 2016, government enacted the law, Tier 4 Microfinance Institutions and Money Lenders Act, that requires circles to be regulated under UMRA, Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority. In 2020, the Cooperative Societies Act is amended, giving birth to CAP 107 and requires circles to come back to the registry. Now, ideally that means there are 3 laws and 3 regulators for circles, which now creates a confusion. Unlike in Kenya, which has a single law and a single regulator for circles, which is SASRA. So what we have been saying, bring all these circles together under one law, under one room, so that they are regulated properly. So that is what the government should be doing to remove that contradiction, so that we have a good law for the cooperatives. Another thing, moderator, tax policy. You know, these cooperatives, these are for farmers, smallholder farmers. If the tax authority would sit with these people and look at their nature of business, a cooperative is not a company. But you find URA taxing cooperatives as if they are companies. You get me? Because a cooperative is member-owned, member-used, member-controlled, and benefiting members. Unlike a company that generates revenue outside its membership from the general public, a cooperative like a SACCO generates revenue within its own membership. That's now the difference. So for tax purposes, we need to learn how is the business of a cooperative compared to a company, so that there is a tax policy the tax regime specifically for cooperatives. Another thing, we need to invest a lot, in fact, to revise the education curriculum such that right from childhood, people learn and understand cooperatives. Do you know we have people who have formed the elite, they have formed the cooperatives, but they cannot define a cooperative. We have people working in the cooperatives, managers and staff. Go and ask them, what's a cooperative? I don't know.
So what are you?
But I'm a manager of a circle.
What are they doing there?
That is now a question. So this is why we are saying support this. Another thing, you support these unions. Like I've mentioned, they have a lot of properties. My God, we did just a simple stock taking. You go to West Acholi, you go to East Acholi, you go to Banyankole, you go to Nyakatonzi. They have a lot of land, they have properties. But what is lacking? Some of them are lacking capital to do business. So what do you do? Create patient capital. Because now it is very hard for these unions to get capital for them to operate from these commercial banks. Number one, commercial banks will not accept because they see as if these cooperative unions will not pay back
their liabilities.
So they are risky. But now if government was to create such capital and say, let this capital be created so that the money can revive these unions, so that these gineries, these mills, this land, everything can be used, then you see cooperatives very far. Another thing,
Mr. Simwe,
invest a lot in audit and supervision to ensure compliance.
Okay.
Because some of the challenges we are getting in these cooperative unions are governance related. So the moment you strengthen audit and supervision, and then the leaders know their roles and they are doing it perfectly, the management does its role, the members do their role, I tell you, this country can easily transform. Even the NDP4 we are talking about, it can be realized within the next 3 years because there is a lot of potential. But this is why we are saying these are sleeping giants. So government, we kindly request you, come in, let's work together and revive these unions. They have a lot of potential.
All right. Join the conversation on fostering sustainable development through cooperative unions. I am speaking to CPA Ivan Asimwe, who is the General Secretary for the Uganda Cooperative Alliance. Any questions whatsoever, the number is 0709-602-592. Now, Mr. Asimwe, let's talk about success stories and innovations. Please share with us some inspiring successes from cooperative unions in Uganda, particularly those that have impacted livelihoods and communities.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. There are lots of success stories. Let me begin with the circles. And you know, circles, like I mentioned, where they have come together and formed the unions, Ukusku and the other unions. Success stories number one, there is now access to financial services deep in the rural areas. I don't know whether you're a member of a circle, but with my experience, I worked in a circle for 9 years. So with my experience, people downstream there, they have now the capacity to save the little money. Go to rural areas there. The old man, the old woman now can go to a circle and save his money. They can access loans for school fees, for production, for emergency, a lot. You go to the young people, the youth. Circles are providing products for the young people. Like when I was a general manager, we innovated a product for border, just border. By talking to the young people who were riding other people's borders and they were paying 10,000 per day. So we said, no, why would you become a slave of the owner of a motorcycle? Because every day you are reporting 10,000 shillings, in a month that is 300,000, in a year that is almost 3.6 million, and by then a motorcycle Bajaj was at 2.5 million. So it means every year a young poor man was buying a motorcycle for the other. He becomes poorer, the other one becomes richer. That is capitalism. So we said, no, come together, form your groups, in a circle, for us as young people, we shall give you motorcycles. Do you know that within 4 months, these guys paid off? They make a lot of money. They paid off and they own these motorcycles. Then from there, we went to school fees. We had a product for school fees where you are now, these people are able to send their children to school. That is on circles. You come to agriculture. Look at the unions. I've given you an example of Ankole Coffee Producers Cooperative Union. Currently, they are exporting over 200 containers of coffee to Europe. However, it's unprocessed. So the next step now, and that's why we are appreciative of government strategy, because you see NDP4 is looking at industrialization. Our president is focusing on how best can we process our coffee here. So if all this coffee now through the unions, like Ankole Coffee, like Rwenzori, like Chibinge, like Bugisu, Sebei, Eregon, and Okoro, if they brought all this coffee together at a soluble plant, the coffee soluble plant, and we are able to get powder and export this, do you know Uganda can change very fast? Because we have the opportunity. So that is a success story. Already, coffee is going outside through the union. Now the beauty with exporting through a union is that there is what they call premium payment. I don't know whether moderator you have heard about this. Now what happens, like Ankole Coffee an example, or Chibinge, they are exporting coffee through fair trade. Now the policy of fair trade is that when you are exporting through them and you are a coffee cooperative society or any other enterprise, they give you the first payment, which now you pay to the farmers, farm gate price. Then when they sell and make a profit, they even come back and pay. That is called the second payment. Then at the end of every year, fair trade compiles all the coffee that you have traded through them, and they pay you money, which is called premium payment. And that premium payment is paid directly to the farmers. So a farmer gets first payment, second payment, and premium payment. Like last year, 2024, in Ankole Coffee, they paid farmers premium over 1 billion. All this money going down to the farmers during Christmas, and you find everybody is happy. Now, capitalism. If now it was Ivan exporting this coffee directly, the money would be coming to Ivan as an individual. But if it is going through the union, now the farmers have the capacity to share this money, and then you transform the economy. That is now on agriculture part. You come to housing. We have Uganda Housing Cooperative Union. Now they have relocated, they have constructed their offices, new offices. So how does this work? They support me and you to access affordable and appropriate housing. You know that there is a very big housing deficit in this country. So take an example of market vendors in Kalerwe. These are women selling tomatoes, selling onions. They came together because individually they cannot buy a plot and construct. So what they did, they came through their housing cooperative, and then together they started saving. After they bought land, big land like 2 acres, and then
plotted.
Yes, 2 acres. And then they plotted, they divided amongst themselves plots, they constructed. Now they are staying in their houses.
Wow.
Are you seeing the cooperative model?
Those are beautiful success
Very beautiful
stories.
You go to health. Same doctors have come together. They have formed a health cooperative, and they have established a hospital. Do you know in the next 10 years to come, we'll have first-class hospital owned by Ugandans who are doctors?
Yeah, and speaking of housing, I actually personally do know of an old boys circle from King's College that owns a beautiful, beautiful housing within the environs of Kololo.
Yes.
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 Well, the conversation is rich.
So
Join
the
us.
elite, I want to tell you the elite.
Yes.
Please, it is the cooperative model that is going to help us. We are accountants. I remember one time, accountants,
Yes.
we had our CPD here at Hotel Africana. And what do? We agreed that we need to form a circle, because I asked them a question. Accountants, we are not poor people, and we are learned. So what do we need? Why do we put our money in commercial banks when we don't have a stake? And yet we call ourselves finance experts. So we sat together, formed the circle. Do you know now we have a very big circle of accountants?
Interesting.
Talk about the army. The army now has Wazalendo,
Yes.
the largest circle in the country,
Yes.
in trillions of money. So everything is possible. The elite, if you are doctors, form a cooperative, have a first-class hospital. If you are engineers, form a cooperative, primaries, form a union, and you have a union of engineers constructing roads and bridges. That is how you develop a country.
Getting tenders,
Yes.
instead of these tenders
Instead
and
of now getting
contracts going to foreigners.
Instead of getting foreigners to come here and construct, you would rather have Ugandans, but who are organized. And that is a challenge I told you. Many of our people are not organized. Number two, we have the capitalist mentality. We did our economics and commerce, which did not tell us about cooperatives. But this is the right time for us to understand the model, because it is the cooperative model that has developed Europe, America, and Asia Pacific. And yes, we can as a country.
Yes, we can as a country. I remember a leader whose slogan was, yes, we can. So we can do it. The conversation is rich. Join us if you have any views on the number that is displayed on your screen, 0709-602-592. I am speaking to CPA Ivan Asimwe, who is the General Secretary, Uganda Cooperative Alliance. And today we are looking at fostering sustainable development through cooperative unions. Now, Mr. Asimwe, I have a question coming in from Trinity, and she's asking, how can such cooperative initiatives be extended even to those ends of Karamoja?
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. One time I went to Karamoja. In fact, I asked the same question. You know, these people have a lot of cows, eh?
And land.
And land.
Yes.
So what is missing? Information, training, and education. So my friend who has asked the question, the only solution is to go back to the communities of Karamoja, sensitize the people on the need and role of cooperatives. When we had, during the time I was in Karamoja, we were in Moroto and the other parts of Karamoja. So we had time with these farmers. And the question was, how do you survive? Who buys your cows? Where do you take your milk? And they rightly told us, people come with lorries here, they take our cows very cheaply. They come and take our milk very cheaply. So what is the solution? Organize them, sensitize them, let them form a beef cooperative union, so that instead of selling it to these middlemen who are exploiting them, they would rather directly go to the market.
So are there initiatives by the Uganda Cooperative Alliance to organize these
the initiatives are there. In fact, we have been there before, and we are even going back. We shall go there and mobilize these people. But of course, UCA is limited by funding. We do not have a bigger budget. We just got support, some support from government of recent, and we really want to appreciate the government that we are even able to do what we can because of a subvention that we got. And we call upon the government, let us together, let's work together. It is the cooperative model that is going to lead us to where we want to be under NDP4 and globally through SDGs. We can actually realize whatever we want to do using the cooperative model. Capitalism has been tested. Yes, it is good, but not for our economy.
Okay.
Why? Because we have multinationals that we don't own. So we need to have our own that can make money for Ugandans.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, I have another view from Ogwang David Cosmos, who is the commercial officer at Abim District. He says, "Good morning, Uganda. I want to thank CPA Ivan for the continuous sensitization of the public through TV, and thank UBC for hosting such educative ideas."
Thank you.
And he says, "My main concern is that Uganda Cooperative Alliance should interest itself in knowing the next financial year, how much had government put in place to support the sustainability of all these circles in the country. Through monitoring, supervision and backstopping, these circles, including the parish development model, Emyoga and other primary circles in the country." And this is from Ogwang David Cosmos, who is the commercial officer for Abim District. And the next view comes in from Julius Odeke, who is a trainer and consultant in business trainings and consultancy. He says the biggest challenges faced by cooperatives all over Uganda, especially circles, are, and he mentions one, fraud, especially by the internal stakeholders. We can work together in capacity building, trainings, among others. Now, this issue of fraud, Mr. Simwe, has been raised pretty much every time we have a conversation here, and the argument is that the fraud is basically being done by the stakeholders. The committee leaders apparently conspire to commit a fraud. But before you answer that, the last comment comes in from Biaruhanga, and he says, "Greetings, my name is Biaruhanga Chinyabwiru. Thanks for the program. Now my question is this UCA, isn't UCA now contradicting parish development model? Because we got cash from PDM and joined force of unity to grow up our village ventures." Those are two questions.
Oh, thank you so much, Ms. Ogwang, because literally has appreciated UBC and UCA for this move.
And then again, talked about the fraud.
Yes, no, the fraud I think was Biaruhanga.
Biaruhanga is asking about contradiction between PDM and UCA.
Yes.
Okay.
So, on the fraud, this is why when I was beginning, I emphasized the need for audit and supervision is very critical. Even within the Cooperative Societies Act, it is embedded there that we need to invest in audit and supervision of these cooperatives. Secondly, we need capacity building. Some of these frauds are happening because members are not empowered. They don't know. They elect their leaders and leaders take advantage of their ignorance. The management staff are taking advantage of the boards because the boards need training. So in other words, to avert that, we need capacity building. Number two, we need to strengthen audit and supervision. Number three, we need to capacitate the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives so that it has the capacity to exercise her mandate as a ministry. Yeah, because it has a lot. Currently, we have over 46,000 registered cooperatives serving over 18 million Ugandans. This is a very big portfolio. So we need to really support the Ministry of Trade with a bigger budget to be able to do her work so that these cooperatives, they are properly trained, they are prepared to deliver the services. Mr. Biaruhanga talked about the PDM.
Yes.
Yes, he talked about the PDM. There is no contradiction here. What we are saying, we thank government for these initiatives and especially adopting the cooperative model. Emyoga, PDM. But what we need now is to sit together and look at some of the challenges and see how best we can solve them. Because UCA as an apex body has got a mandate of capacity building. So we can work together with the government, and we thank government because for government to adopt a model, it is an opportunity to us as cooperators. So there is no contradiction, but rather let us see how best UCA and other cooperatives can support PDM and Emyoga and then streamline them within the main cooperative movement. That is the way to go. If they are PDM circles, support them to form unions for proper production, aggregation, value addition, and marketing.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Asimwe. We have learnt a lot today, just like we do every Wednesday. Now, coming up, we will be broadcasting live a message by the Archbishop of the Church of Uganda, the Most Reverend Stephen Kazimba Mugalu, and he will be delivering his Easter message to the faithful. So keep it locked on UBC to partake of the message from the Most Reverend. And Mr. Asimwe, I thank you. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much. I want to thank UBC and I want to thank the viewers. Thank you.
Okay. And dear viewer, I would also like to thank you for being a part of Good Morning Uganda every single day. Now stick around for the message from the Archbishop, the Most Reverend Stephen Kazimba Mugalu, and I hope that as you listen and watch, you may be blessed. I wish you a happy Easter period. But for us here at Good Morning Uganda, we'll still be here to serve you every single morning, even through the Easter holiday. Stick around and enjoy.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah yo, baby dondolo.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000 or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100*21# and select daily or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
We're going to be talking about farming, but it's not me that's going to do that.
My name is Hava K. Luanga.
My name is Larry Charles K.
Let's go!
Mixed farm is a type of farming that involves growing crops and raising livestock. This is the spice garden and for the vegetables.
My first favorite spice has to be black pepper.
What's black pepper in Uganda?
Kamulali or mudagavu.
What? We're going to talk about the sechunga. We're going to see how big it is, as big as Larry's head. And then we're going to talk about the mangada. So we're going to get there. We have still so many farms to visit, and I would like to hear from you. This is the Little Farmer Show, and we are bringing coolness back to farming. See you!
Buza Kamiso now, enhancing tax education and bringing it closer to the taxpayers. Many Ugandans have questions about the taxes they pay to URA.
When we come at revenue, they tell us to clear chitenge at 10,000. And when we are selling chitenge, we sell it at 17. So we don't know whether we are working or not.
Understanding your tax obligations can help you grow your business and avoid unnecessary losses. Now, you can get direct answers. Send your tax-related questions via WhatsApp or SMS to 0790-141-887 and the Commissioner General of URA, John Musinguzi, will personally address them. Tune in to you every Monday and Wednesday.
Imagine a place where healthcare meets compassion.
Others come in and they have families, but families have fallen apart.
Where every patient is treated with dignity and care.
We have just talked about one aspect of it.
Welcome to Mulago National Referral Hospital, the heart of Uganda's healthcare system.
The moment you discharge these patients home without giving them oxygen means you've really written a death sentence.
Takes almost 50% of the cases we are handling are road traffic accidents.
We are encouraging the young ones out there to come and work.
From pediatric care to advanced organ transplants, Mulago's dedicated team is always ready to help.
And in Mulago, since we're a referral, we get the most complex of them because we just don't remove cancer, we remove even everywhere it wanted to spread so that the patient can survive.
Watch Inside Mulago every Tuesday at
Yeah, okay.